Okay, so my name is Emily, and I decided to start this to document this sort of crazy roller coaster that is my life. I recently decided to join the Air Force. I'll graduate college in July with a theater performance degree. So I know whenever I first decided to join the Air Force that YouTube was my life, and it kept me sane and made me be like, maybe I can do this. We'll see. So I want to talk a little bit about what I've done so far. My boyfriend is in the Air Force. He has 2 years left, and he's going to go to Korea in July. Terrified. So I got a lot of information from him, but he's a man, so I went to YouTube for the feminine point of view, I guess you could say. I emailed 3 recruiters, and the last one was actually a friend of my boyfriend's, and he emailed me back, and he's been awesome. He's an hour away though, so that's a little bit stressful, but he got the ball rolling for me, and it's been great so far. I knew sort of what to expect, so I don't feel lied to or any of that nonsense. My plan right now is probably to go in open general. I know everybody says that's terrifying, but all of the jobs that I want, that's really the only way I could get them, and I'm doing this more for the experience and possibly to get my master's. So getting like the world's best jobs, not the end of the world if I don't get it. Yeah. So I went to the Auburn, Alabama recruiting station and got everything sorted out. There's a really funny story, actually. I got there, and there's, you know, like the different doors for the branches, and I was a little confused because they were all shut, you know, except for one, but they had the seals for the different branches on them, and so I found the Air Force one, and I was looking at it, and the door is locked. So I was kind of like, hey, this is the first test. Like, how to get in the Air Force? You got to get in the door. So I was standing at this door, and there was like a little call button. So I was about to hit the call button, and this person sticks their head out the door from over here. He's like, hey. And I was like, hey. He's like, you trying to join the Army? And I was just like, no, sir, I'm not. And he hops out the door, and he puts his hands on his hips, you know? And he was like, you sure? You want to? And he's, you know, dressed in his Army uniform. And I was like, no, sir, I'm here for the Air Force. He was like, what can I do to change your mind? And I was like, pretty set, thanks. But it cracked me up. I've been trying to track down an Air Force recruiter for months, and then the Army guy's like, come join us, you know. But I got to meet with Sergeant Jones, and it was great. We scheduled me to take my ASVAB. I did pretty well on it. I made an 85 overall, which was good. I made a 73 on the practice one though, so if that tells you anything. I did study. I got that ASVAB for Dummies book, but I don't know if it helped. It might have. So I got that out of the way. My first trip to MEPS was a little interesting, because, you know, MEPS is the center of terror for most people. So I got there, had all my paperwork, I stood at the desk, and I just stood there, and I waited for one of the people at the desk to look at me, and they didn't, and I just kept standing there, till finally the dude was like, I'm sorry, can we help you? And I was like, yeah, I'm just here to take my ASVAB, sir. And he's like, okay, well, stand over here and read this. I was like, okay. So I read it, and I was like, okay. And I looked at him, and he didn't say anything, so I kept standing there. He finally was like, okay, well, I need this, this, and this. And I was like, oh, you know, I already had it ready, and I gave it to him. And then he was like, okay, well, stand here, we're gonna take your picture. And he was like, whatever you do, don't look away from the camera lens. And I was like, oh, okay. So I stood there, and I looked at it, and it flashed. So I looked at him, and he's like, no, look at the camera. I was like, oh. And it just kept flashing 6 more times. And then he moved and he rolled away, and so I looked at him again. He said, no, look at the camera. I was like, oh, and I looked back at the camera, and it flashed a few more times, until finally he was like, step forward. And they took a few more pictures, and finally he was like, okay, now you're done. But I was like, I feel like this is how they test for ADHD, and I probably failed that one. But I took the ASVAB, it was fine. The nicest person in that entire MEPS center was the only person in uniform I talked to the whole day, and he was from the Navy. And I was like, you go. All the civilian people were mean to me. So I'll probably go to MEPS again for the physical and everything in about 2 weeks. I'm a little nervous, but who's not? My friend Brittany was like, if you're nervous, you're probably doing something right. It's really funny though, because the MEP station is actually like 10 feet away from my boyfriend's dorm, so I've seen it all the time and I didn't actually know that's what it was. But I just thought this would be a fun way to start a YouTube channel, because I've been wanting to do it for years, but I'm a procrastinator, and I'm recording this off of my phone because I am way too broke to buy a camera at the moment. But you'll probably see this a lot. Here's my boyfriend and the Marauders map because Harry Potter. But thanks you guys for watching if you are, and I'll see you in the next video, probably about MEPS.